On January 30th, 1991, John G. Rangos Sr., President and Chief Executive Officer of Chambers Development Company, Incorporated, joined an elite group of distinguished Americans when he received the Congressional Medal of Honor Society's National Patriots Award. Mr. Rangos is the first environmentalist to be honored with this award. We invite you to share with us a record of that day's events.
I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right.
And this will only be the 20th time it's ever been done.
Because America honors you as the foremost citizens of this great nation.
God bless America, my home, sweet home.
So it's a great country that we live in, where individual citizens step out of their private life, give of their resources, give of their talent, so that the rest of us can have a better life.
And on July the 20th, 1969, the flag of the United States of America was placed on the surface of the moon.
I can attest personally to the great care and pride and contribution which Chambers and John Rangos have made.
One of the nation's most eminent awards was presented on January 30th, 1991, to John G. Rangos Sr., President and Chief Executive Officer of Chambers Development Company, Incorporated. Mr. Rangos received the 1991 Congressional Medal of Honor Society's National Patriots Award at a Washington, D.C. ceremony in his honor.
John, it's my distinct pleasure and honor to present you the Congressional Medal of Honor's 1991 Patriots Award for all of your great achievements, love of country, and what we inscribed on the back, I talked to you a little bit about, was presented to John G. Rangos Sr., January 30th, 1991, in recognition of his outstanding and steadfast leadership towards a better tomorrow for our American children. Thank you very much.
No greater honor can any man have than to reach the respect of the Congressional Medal of Honor, the recipients, and no greater honor will I ever have and forever cherish this responsibility and honor bestowed on me tonight. These individuals that are our nation's heroes will always be in my heart as they have been in the past.
The National Patriots Award is given to honor distinguished Americans who are dedicated to freedom, love of their fellow man, and patriotism. Past recipients include President Reagan, actor-comedian Bob Hope, industrialist Lee Iacocca, General William Westmoreland, and Senator Strom Thurmond. Mr. Rangos was selected for his commitment to the environment, to health and education, and to children.
He has been waging a war on waste for more than 20 years now. Long before others realized our throwaway society was threatening our environment, John was one of the first men pioneered ways to recycle, repossess, and reuse what others had disposed of, and as early as the 60s, and most people don't know this.
So in honoring John Rangos, you do something that perhaps is, again, typically American. You show your respect and your understanding for a man who's been a typical American business success, because that's what America's all about. It's about success. And you show that this evening by honoring John Rangos. I could tell you of his tremendous contributions to his church, which I happen to know of, and that's the kind of support that comes from the heart. But at a time when we face a great crisis around the world, a great moral as well as political and diplomatic crisis, some of these virtues in the United States we take for granted could be reemphasized. When we tell the Eastern European dictatorships that democracy works better than communism, we speak with proper knowledge and understanding. When we tell the dictators in the Middle East, specifically Saddam Hussein, that freedom cannot be terminated, and the United States will lead the free world to correct inequities such as the brutal attack on Kuwait. That leadership is typical of Americanism. That's what we're all about. We're successful, we're democratic, we're free. And there isn't any other country in the world that can match our virtues.
Under Mr. Rangos' leadership, Chambers Development Company has pioneered technological advances in safe solid waste disposal, resource recovery, and recycling. It is one of the first landfill operators in the nation to use clay liners, high-density polyethylene liners, and other protective measures long before it was mandatory. The company is also one of the first to treat wastewater, or leachate, on landfill sites. Due in part to innovations like these, Chambers is one of the largest environmental services firms in the nation and has an impeccable environmental record.
You know, we get in my office from all over our state complaints about any time there is even the suggestion of a landfill being put into someone's, even within a mile of someone's backyard. And we're all called upon to respond, to call up departments of environmental resources to make complaints on behalf of our constituents. And here is John Rangos at Chambers Development, one of the largest environmental companies in the world. I represent one of the largest states in the country where John has huge operations. And I can tell you, and I checked this with my staff to make sure that they had never received a letter or a phone call, but out of the 3 million pieces of mail that I have received as a United States Senator, I have never received one that was even critical, let alone a complaint, John Rangos, about any operation or any aspect of anything you've ever done. I wish the rest of us were so lucky.
Mr. Rangos' efforts on behalf of children were also recognized. He is a major benefactor of Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh. His contributions include the creation and administration of a yearly fundraiser and a gift of $3 million, which endowed the Rangos Research Center, a facility for pediatric research.
It is fitting that we recognize patriots who take of their time and their life in order to make our country and our society better. The President well stated last night that the future of the country depends upon the willingness of all of us as individuals to step out of our life, if you will, from time to time and to give something back to our country, back to our society. One awardee that I want to particularly recognize today is John Rangos from Pittsburgh. He's a good friend of mine, someone that I've known for some time. Part of the reason he is being honored, and I'm sure there's a good reason for each of our honorees, is that he, among other things, made a very significant contribution to the Children's Hospital in Pittsburgh and has given a great deal of resources to the effort to find the answers to such diseases as childhood leukemia. This is particularly important to people like me. I have a son who was, when he was 2 years old, was diagnosed as having terminal cancer. Because of research that had been done at MD Anderson and other institutions around the country, because of private donations, like the donation that Mr. Rangos gave in Pittsburgh, they found an answer to my son's particular tumor, and after 3 or 4 years of intensive therapy, he was cured of cancer, and today he's 20 years old and a student at Duke University in North Carolina.
It's almost frightening how quickly time goes by. But that's essentially what we're doing again today. We're trying to preserve the freedoms, the freedom of speech and the freedom of worship, the freedom from want and the freedom from fear that President Roosevelt talked about 50 years ago. So I'm always happy to be in the audience where there's so many great Americans, heroes, and very pleased to be in your presence. And if we can be of any assistance in any way, just give us a ring. Thank you very much.
A full day of festivities began with a luncheon on Capitol Hill in honor of Mr. Rangos. The turnout was tremendous, 400 people, including congressional leaders, business and education leaders, Congressional Medal of Honor recipients, and some friendly, familiar faces. In this relaxed atmosphere, Mr. Rangos took the opportunity to discuss pressing environmental issues and concerns with people who can help make a difference.
I believe as a company having the finest environmental record in the United States, we are dedicated, and as we have with one of the congressmen here, came and congratulated me, the Charles City County is in his region. We have built and designed one of the finest environmental sites in the world to resolve regional and statewide and nation problems in the environmental field. I believe we've done it with great dignity, and I believe that we will be able to give this nation the guidance in a very regulated program that Chambers has the will and the way that we with government partnerships will be able to find solutions for you all. Thank you.
Tribute was also paid to American soldiers in the Persian Gulf, as cards were distributed among guests for their signatures and personal messages of support. The cards will be sent to soldiers in each branch of the armed forces.
As you entered the banquet hall this evening, you may have noticed a small table in a place of honor here near our head table. It's set simply for one person, and please let me explain. The military caste is filled with symbology. This table is our way of symbolizing the fact that members of our profession of arms are missing from our midst. They are commonly called POWs, MIAs. We call them simply brothers.
Tributes to courage and freedom continued throughout the evening.
Remember them. The single rose displayed in a vase reminds us of the families and the loved ones of our comrades in arms who keep the faith, awaiting patiently their return. We ask that you remember them.
Highlights included a tribute to Old Glory, performed by the United States Army Band, Pershing's Own, and members of the 3rd United States Infantry, the Old Guard.
The American people traveled a long, arduous road during those early days in colonial America when our forefathers sought for independence and the right to determine their own destiny. The milestones of Lexington, Brandywine, Valley Forge, Trenton, and Yorktown along this road led to the eventual freedom and independence sought by those patriots who overcame insurmountable obstacles and hardship to achieve their goal. The new nation's flag inspired these citizen soldiers to uncommon feats of valor. With their newly gained independence, the American people established a government and adopted a constitution in 1787 that has endured longer than any other constitution in history.
mountains, to the prairies, to the oceans, what with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. All right, all you proud Americans, stand up and join in singing one rousing verse of this great American song. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans, what with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
An indoor fireworks display made for a dramatic finale. The National Patriots Award honors distinguished Americans who are dedicated to freedom, love of their fellow man, and patriotism. Virtues which all Americans cherish and revere, including the 1991 honoree, Mr. John G. Rangos, Sr.
I will forevermore be committed, as our president has commented and asked of us. And that great president that I respect very much will hear from me, my family, and our corporation, which has one of the finest environmental records in the world, to light many of those points of light in the near future and to the far future. Recently, Foreign Minister Tariq Aziz made the comment, America, look out. This is not going to be a Rambo kind of war. I advise Mr. Aziz to contemplate our president in the world. Come to your sanity. Look what you're doing to your nation and your people. Our heroes, as long as that heart and dedication, the recipients, is there, there will always be an America, in America forever. Of those who have received this highest award, Michael Estocin, and I'd like to have his widow and the Estocin family please stand up. I recently was with the 82nd Airborne Commander as they came to honor Michael, a recipient postmortemly of the Medal of Honor. Michael was an all-American boy. I had the great honor of growing up with him. He received many accomplishments beside the Medal of Honor. He was a distinguished naval aviator, received the Distinguished Flying Cross, Navy Commendation Medal, and a Medal of Honor postmortemly. The SS Estocin was named after Michael in remembrance to him as a great fighting ship. And these are the kind of people that make up the America that's the citizen service person, as Eliot said. They went in to do a job, not seeking glory, but seeking to keep our country free. Beginning with 1775, the so-called Continental Army, which was thinly clad, with very little arms, but a great deal of heart from our citizens and our forefathers. It started in Bunker Hill. The British thought they had this ill-clad, waning army beat at Valley Forge. Our first president and great General Washington surprised them. And that was the beginning of the end, where General Cornwallis handed his sword, brilliant general that he was, great well-fed army, the most powerful nation on earth. We wrenched our freedom fighting for it. The Civil War, unfortunate, but there were more casualties, 545,391, 364,511 deaths. Some of the greatest battles ever fought on this planet were fought by Americans. We settled our differences and became the beacon of light, the one citadel of freedom that the whole world could look to and say, America will never let you down. In World War I, beleaguered, the Allies ripped to shreds by the great German armies and Austro-Hungarian armies, literally devastated Russia, brought France and England and the rest of the European countries to their knees. Only America, with our General Pershing, came to the aid of the Allies and dissolved those imperialistic ambitions to overwhelm all of Europe. The mistake America made was not become part of the League of Nations. And that's where we learned the first lesson of why God endowed us the nation that we are. By not involving ourselves in that league, we allowed Nazi Germany to surface, fascist Italy, and the Japanese Empire wreaked havoc in Asia. And when the German Blitzkrieg started, we quickly motivated a small and untrained service corps because we're a loving, peaceful nation. But we built very quickly. And when the Blitzkrieg took all of Europe, most of Russia, most of North Africa, we started out with our General Patton meeting Rommel in the desert and whipped them. Then Sicily and Anzio. And then with our great General Eisenhower, D-Day, Normandy, Bastogne, and literally freed the wretched hand of Nazism and fascism from Europe. On the other hand, in the Pacific, we had the Japanese imperial forces that caught our fleet at Pearl Harbor and sunk most of it, laid claim to most all of Asia up to the gates of India. MacArthur fled by orders of the president, went to Australia, and there's where we started our counterattack. Many great naval battles were fought, and the war hung at times when the Japanese fleet thought they sank our fleet near the Solomon Islands, and yet we showed up at Wake not long after that and devastated most of the carrier fleet of the Japanese Empire. That is American resolve with a great price of humanity. And you citizen service people, Army, Navy, Marine Corps, and Air Force, have changed the history of the world forever. But the Soviet Union put up the walls in Eastern Europe, put up the walls at Berlin. They did not want the citizens to see or smell the sweet smell of freedom, the opportunity of enterprise. They started revolution on 5 continents and tested us immediately with the Berlin airlift. Korea, where they moved 1,000 tanks, an air force, with a little 1 or 2 division American Army. We came back at Pusan with only 50 miles left between us and the sea and fought this treacherous enemy back over the 38th parallel. At the same time, a vicious Vietnam brought the French to their knees. And in that war, where everybody says it's a war that we lost, my dear citizens, think for a moment. We did not go to Vietnam to gain 1 ounce of soil, nor to do anything but give them an opportunity to be free. That can only be done with the will of the people. That war gave us the time to change the wind of communism to the winds of free government. And I can only say that without that war, that everybody, so many dissidents and a certain actress pulled the treasonous act of going there and abating and aiding the enemy. That war was the difference that brought the communists to their knees, wearing them down, caused the walls of the East to come down, the Beijing insurrection, because people had time to think, is this communism really going to give anything of any kind of a promise? Because we hear promise now for 3 generations and no dividends, empty shelves. That time was important for the change, and Mr. Gorbachev had to change and say, we either let them go or we will have a defiant revolution on our hands. Who would have thought that in Poland today, Lech Walesa would sit in a free election as a president of the Poles when he was oppressed for so many years? And American resolve again won that war without one major war which everybody predicted, and that was World War III. I tell you that our great president made the right decision, stopping this man now. 5 years from now, this Middle Eastern Hitler, with the abundance of more accurate weapons, with the capability, as he warns us constantly, I'm going to use atomic weapons, I'm going to use chemical weapons. In 5 more years, he would have them, and ladies and gentlemen, he would use them. On that note, I want to thank God that we have the citizen soldiers and ladies now, that we have so many of them in the Middle East, that we have our presence of mind to always have America look to self-government for all people. And as our president says, we live by order of law. I thank you very much.
Tomorrow were gone, I'd worked for all my life, and I had to start again with just my children and my wife. I thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas and from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston, from New York to LA, well, there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say, I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Special thanks to the United States Army Band, Pershing's Own, and members of the 3rd United States Infantry.